Bom dia, boa tarde, boa noite para você que está nos assistindo. Estamos iniciando o nosso podcast aqui na 3RA e temos o prazer de ter hoje com a gente a Hanna. Ela é diretora do Departamento Internacional do Lambton College, que fica em Sarnia, ou seja, ter uma diretora de um college aqui é algo muito grande. E a razão pela qual a gente convidou ela é porque ela já viu muita coisa, né? Ela ajuda, né, os alunos internacionais há muitos anos. Então ela vai poder dividir com a gente as histórias. E nós vamos falar bastante de uma questão muito importante para quem quer vir aqui para o Canadá estudar, trabalhar, né, batalhar a sua imigração, que é trabalho, né? Nós vamos falar sobre essa conexão, né, do college, do seu curso, né, com o mercado de trabalho, programas que têm co-op, né? Como isso funciona. E não se assuste, né? Muita gente ainda confunde, acha que programas que têm co-op não dão direito a PGWP. Não é isso, tá? Diversos programas dão direito ao co-op, nada mais é do que uma parte prática do seu estudo, né? Em que você vai ter uma colocação de emprego. Isso com certeza vai te ajudar demais a quebrar uma coisa chamada Canadian Experience, né? E eu vou conversar sobre isso tudo com a Hannah. Hello, Hannah, how are you doing?
Hi, great to see you again. Thank
Nice
you
to.
for inviting me. I'm so excited to be part of this webinar today. Thank you. Podcast.
No, thank you so much for being here. To have a team is so important. Like, that's amazing. For sure, you have seen like so many things at Lambton, right? I know that we're gonna
Ah,
talk about like more talk about the co-op, the jobs, and then things like that. The connection from
absolutely.
the, like, the from study to to the workforce and things like that. But for sure, you have seen so many things along all these years. How long have you been like working at Lambton?
Well, I'm originally from Sarnia, Lambton. So I grew up in Sarnia. I went to high school here, went away to university. Then I lived abroad for 13 years in Europe. And then I came back in 2012. And since 2012, I've been with Lambton College. I've moved up the ranks, so to speak. I started with ESL. I established ESL here at Lambton College. And we had partners in China. We had four big partners in China. And as you know, we had we called them our private partners in Toronto and Mississauga, and then we expanded to our public to public partnership in Ottawa. So yeah, I've grown from ESL manager all the way up to dean in the past 13 years.
That's great. That's great. And like we were talking like before we got like on air, we were talking about the co-ops, right? And I have my vision of like how co-op can help someone like that is starting his life or her life here in Canada, right? It can make a huge difference. At 3A, we're always looking for courses that have that co-op, right? Because the what we and you, if you agree with me or not, please, Hannah, you're gonna know way better than me, right? So what I feel as an immigrant as well is that like the beginning is always harder, right? The beginning of your life in a different country, it's always harder. And I see that doesn't matter like from which field you're from, to break like I call like the shell of the egg. Like it's the Canadian experience. To have that
Exactly.
Canadian experience, it's so hard, and that's where I believe the co-op comes like to help. Is that like that you see how? Or do you think I'm right? I'm wrong? What's your position
You're
on that?
100% correct. And I also want to preface that there's a difference between colleges and universities. So universities, as you know, I'm sure it's traditional in Brazil as well, where it's 4 years, very theory based, lots of lab work, but it's a lot of lectures, tests, assignments. Whereas college, especially in Ontario, it is experiential learning from the beginning. This is the premise of what a college is. So for us at Lambton is to get the students to practice what they've learned in the classroom. And that's why we've set up our postgraduate programs to have co-op at the last semester of their studies. So they study term one, term two, they take a break where they can go and work part-time anywhere. And then they come back to their studies, reinforce what they've learned in the first two semesters, and then they go out into the co-op where they can really use what they learned in the academics in the classroom and practice it. So for us, even in co-op, they're obviously they're working in a company or factory or manufacturing, depending on the program that they're in. Or even in the classroom, it's experiential learning. Like you're either in the lab, you're either working on a project, there might be community projects involved as well. So the premise of a Canadian college experience is that experiential hands-on learning where you're sowing to both the seeds of academics with a work experience, either project based or front facing with a client.
Who was the genius that thought of that, like at Lambton? Because like I don't know any other college in Canada that has so many programs with co-op. That because we've been working with Lambton for more than 10 years, probably like 12 years since like we started to right at the beginning. We started to work with Lambton, and that caught my attention a lot because most of your post graduations they have that co-op in the end,
All of them
which
do.
do because
Yeah, all of
I'm
them do.
sorry.
All of them
Yeah,
do.
I think that's awesome. So do you know who came with that idea, or
It was
was
my
it?
predecessor, my boss. He was the one that created that more than 10 years ago, seeing the need. You can see, and you've worked with Canadian institutions for a long time as well. And a lot of them do the 1+1. So they do 1 year program, 2 semesters, and then they switch to another 2 year where there's no practical experience in that co-op. So they're paying 4 semesters of tuition, whereas we don't charge during the co-op term. So you pay for your first 3 terms. And then when you're out in co-op, you've already gained that experience from the classroom, which is a cost savings as well. But as you're studying, you're not just dropped into the co-op bucket. You have courses that prepare you for co-op from the very first semester. So they're like co-op preparation. We work with third-party providers like Devant, where Devant is embedded in the curriculum where you can improve your resume writing and your job search techniques. There's even a software where you're able to do mock interviews where it records you and gives you feedback telling you what you need to improve upon in your job interview skill set. So we're really working with the students to prepare them. And this also pays off in their part-time search. As you know, in Canada, last year they increased the working hours during studies from 20 hours to 24. And then students can continue working full-time in their academic break between their second and third semester. So this is also helping students build their resumes for their part-time jobs at a local grocery store, for example. So any type of Canadian work experience, be it part-time, not related to academics or in the co-op field, is critical because, like you said, it's a struggle. It's cracking that egg, getting to Canada. You're coming here as an international student. You don't have family. You don't have friends. You are
You don't have
starting from
network.
scratch. You don't have a
Yeah,
network. So you're submitting a
exactly.
resume. Let's say your day one, you stepped off the plane and you're looking for a job at a grocery store. They can't call you references because they're back home in Brazil. So what you have to
And
do here, you
it's
have to
so
network.
important. And the reference it's something that like that is so important in Canada, right? Even teachers can be a reference, right? And it's like
Absolutely.
and
Absolutely.
as someone that like as like a director of a company, like a lot of people when they leave 3RA, like they go like, can you give you guys as a reference? And we only do that for people that did a good job with us, right? Because we
Absolutely.
know so important how important it is. Like here in Canada, when someone calls you for reference, sometimes it takes you like 20 minutes. They call
Yeah.
me, they ask me a bunch of questions. So I would only do that for people that did a good job at like at 3A. So to have a starting point, like someone to help you put in the, like to find your first job here in Canada, it's really important because it's harder without that, right?
Absolutely, because you're starting with zero. So what we all, in my very first meeting with the students on orientation day, I always talk about extracurricular activities such as volunteerism. I know in a lot of cultures, volunteerism doesn't make sense. Like why would I give up my time for free when I could go and get a job and get paid? True, that is true. Like we do want students to go and get a part-time job, work 24 hours, balance their school and their part-time job. But you also have to interject your volunteerism because that's the perfect way to meet Canadians, to practice your skill set in either, English skill set, your soft skills, your introduction, and then you build your network. The more people that you meet, the more people that get to know you and your face, that's when you have a connection. And you can add that to a resume. As an employer, when I'm interviewing students, I'm looking at not just their resume and not just their GPA. You can have a 4 point GPA, but have zero soft skills and zero volunteerism. I'm looking for a fully rounded individual who can balance life, work, and volunteerism at the same time. So then when I can see them that they have volunteered on campus, off campus, there's tons of opportunity in this community here in Sarnia and in Ottawa, where people are looking for young individuals to take the lead. Yeah, you're not going to get paid for it because, that's not the purpose of it. That's giving back to something that you're passionate about. So as your resume, but you're also building your soft skills. And that just compounds you and makes you more competitive when you are looking for that co-op job in your last semester. So I encourage students, and we have something called a CCR. I'm not sure if you've ever heard of that. It's a co-curricular record where your volunteerism actually gets transcribed. You get a transcription of your volunteerism. So
I
you
didn't
have
know that.
with your GPA, and then you have a resume, not your resume, but a piece of paper, documentation of your GPA and your transcript for your academics. But on the other side, you also have a transcript of your volunteerism. And all of this is recorded and it's signed off by the registrar's office. So I encourage students, get involved, go after whatever you're passionate about. And sometimes we're also looking for new ideas. Some students come in and say, hey, I have this great idea. I'd like to start a club. And we start clubs all the time for students. So it could be from sustainability and environmentalism to working in a veterinarian's clinic or helping on campus with a student initiative. So it's a very well-rounded, and this is what a 2-year program affords a student. It gives you the opportunity to really focus in your skill set in that study of interest of your academics, but then you're adding in elements to develop you over that 2-year trajectory. So when you graduate, you get that full-time job because of what you've accrued in your 2 years of study.
It's huge. Volunteer, like being a volunteer in Canada, it's huge. Like this is something that we don't have in Brazil, so sometimes it's hard to explain
Yeah,
to
it's very
students that
foreign.
are still in Brazil,
Yeah.
right? And here I live in Vancouver, right? So here in Vancouver, the biggest university it's UBC. It's really hard to get into UBC, and your grades could be like the best grades in the whole world. But if you don't have volunteer, if you haven't been a volunteer before, you're not gonna find like they're not gonna accept you at UBC. They
Yeah.
start to teach you like to develop as a human being, understand how that is very important, like in the process, right?
Well, in Ontario, you can't graduate with a high school diploma without volunteering 40 hours. It's
That's
a
great.
mandate. Yeah, so that's
Oh,
why these are skill sets that we're trying to teach our international students because once they stay in Canada after graduation, in their communities, there's probably things that they can get involved in. And we need that initiative. We need the support of, temporary residents to support these initiatives as well.
I think that probably is one of the things that makes Canada so great, right? People
Mhm.
understand since the beginning they have to go beyond. It's not like, but that's I think it's kind of like the balance of life that we look here in Canada. I moved to
Yeah.
Canada 22 years ago, and that's the main thing that you look like. Usually people don't come to Canada to become rich. Oh, I want to be rich. Maybe
You have to
Canada
work
is not
hard.
the country for you.
You got to work hard.
Yeah, exactly. But like, okay, I want to have a good balance
A
of
balance.
like quality of life, and like, and that's where Canada like shines, and like, and even
Yeah,
like in the education system start show you that that's very important, right?
the middle class, right? So in Canada, you're able to, as long as you work and you're honest and you have integrity, like you'll have that car, you'll have that house, you'll have the opportunity to, go on a summer vacation or a winter vacation. This is the benefit. Like I've traveled to a lot of countries. I've lived abroad as well. So have you. So you can calculate and you can estimate and you can show the difference between the places that you've been, the quality of life, the safety. You're in nature. Like your picture right there speaks for itself, right? Like
This is not Google. Let me see if I did
it's
this.
not
The
Google.
sun
Like it's
shines. I'm
real.
hiding the sun here with my head.
Yeah. So this is the benefit of coming to Canada. And I know recently we've had ups and downs as always in every type of industry. You'll have your ups and you'll have your downs. We had growing pains. Now we're trying to fix those growing pains. And ultimately, what we want at the federal level, at the provincial level, at the institution level, at the community level, we want our international students to be safe. We want them to have an experiential experience learning on our campuses and in our communities. We want them to have access to housing. We want them to have access to part-time jobs and ultimately that full-time job, and to get a world-class education at world-class facilities like we have at Lambton. So that's the priority. And once the students get here, their networking abilities, their academics, it's a completely like I said, completely different learning style, with a college system where in most countries there's like a midterm and a final, you memorize everything, then you write it back out and that's it. Whereas as at a college, you have to practice all the time. You'll have presentations, you'll have group assignments, you'll have capstone project at the end of a semester. One whole course could be a capstone, which is a culmination of all the academics that you've learned. So it's a great opportunity to come to Canada at this time.
And let me ask you something. How like when we talk about a course that has a program that has like a program that has a co-op in the end, right? That is, in my opinion, three huge beneficial benefits for someone that is being the like it's being working already for, I don't know, 5, 10, 15, 20, 30 years, right? There's three things that I one, it's one last semester in class, right? Instead of four, it's three. So you are out of the work field for less time, right? I think that's amazing. Another thing you said is like you save money because you don't pay for that semester, so you're saving around like $8,000, like on like average. So that's a lot of money. If we put that in Brazilian reais, we are talking about almost like 40,000 reais. And the main thing, in my opinion, for sure, you have that big help to get in the workforce, right? So like when we talk about co-op, we know that is like the last semester of the course. It's instead of being in class like studying, you're gonna be working, right? So, but what's the preparation for that? What happens before that? Like, how the students prepare for that? How do they find a job? Like, how is that connection? One thing that I love about Lambton, I had the pleasure to go and visit last year. It's huge, the connection that you guys have with the industry. Like you go, like there is a building, like there is a name of companies outside of Lambton building. I was like, holy smokes,
Yeah,
like, and
yeah,
then
they
you see all
sponsored
those,
it.
like the wall
The
with the name
lab.
of all those companies, like huge companies, like some of the biggest companies in the world. I'm like, petroleum and all the industries that you guys have. And I'm like, wow, that's great, right? So how is this like how it's from the beginning, right? Oh, I'm gonna do this and that. How like we connect all those dots?
Perfect. Yeah, that's a good question. As I said, like the college system is very experiential. It's hands-on learning. So what we also have in the system, they're called PACs. They're program advisory committees. So all programs twice a year have a PAC meeting, and the PAC invites not only students. They'll have spokespersons representing the student body to give their feedback about the courses and about the program, about the job prospects. Alumni has a chance to talk as well as their experience into the workforce. But the most important thing, we have people from industry. We have people that are hiring our students, giving feedback about the program. So that helps us over the course of the duration of the year to look at what's working and what's not working. So that's why we're in constant change, changing courses, changing the progression of the programs because we have to adapt. We have to adapt quickly to change in the
The
industry.
industry changed, right? The world changed, right? Right now we are changing so
Yeah,
fast. If we
exactly. So
don't
without these
adapt, we die,
programs,
right?
exactly. So you either sink or you swim, and we want to swim. So we have these program advisory committee meetings, PACs, where based on the feedback, it goes back to sometimes goes back to we call them SMEs, subject matter experts, where they change or add or remove, but they take that information and what they see from our graduates, what they see from the students. So from the get-go, as I mentioned earlier, the first semester you're getting support related to your co-op. It's not, you're not just thrown into the deep end. You're given supports from semester one, semester two, and semester three. Each program and each student has a co-op advisor. The co-op advisor, you have meetings with them. Co-op advisors bring in sectoral job placements. They'll post it on something called My Career. So, however, the onus is on the student to search and look for the job. They can either find it through the My Lambton, the My Career platform, or they could find their own co-op placement, and then it has to go through the approval process. The biggest thing that we want to say to students is we want the students to be safe and not to be exploited. As you know, as international students, students are vulnerable. Like our senior citizens are, so are international students. We want them to be aware that Lambton has their back, and we do verify. Like we go in and we verify with employers that these are legitimate, bona fide co-op placements. The last thing that we want to hear is a student has promised something and the employer is not delivering on that. We want them to go to a place that is a bona fide and credible place of
I
work.
have a story that happens with us that was probably you have like 10,000 stories like this, right? And I love to tell this because this happens at 3RA. We had someone that working with us, and then she was working finance at 3RA. But she decided to do a course that had a co-op in the end in Vancouver that but the course was marketing, was something, or I think it was digital marketing or something like that. So she did that course at the public college in Vancouver, and in the end, like the demand, like what we need her more at 3RA, right? So I say, Camila, why you don't ask them, Douglas? I was at Douglas College. Why you don't ask them? They are big partners with us.
Yeah.
Why you don't ask them if you can do your co-op with us? And it's okay. I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna ask. I say whatever I have to talk to them, I can to them. Like you are amazing here. We love to have you here. So why don't do your co-op here? Well, they they didn't approve because like what she was doing at 3RA was totally different than what she was studying. They say no, that has nothing to do. You're not doing that. So I was like, come on, guys, you guys are my partners. I put her there, and you take an employee from my company, a very important one. And then they say, yeah. So she did a co-op with this company. It was an IT company. Not only they hired her in the end, we said to the students, that's not a promise, right? That you're gonna be hired. But if the company, you work at the company, you're being trained, they like you like them, why they are not gonna hire you, right?
Right.
So they hire her. They made an offer, actually, and then I was like, Camila, I cannot cover that offer. It was
Nope.
way higher than like we could pay her, and then I love that. That like we saw that what we say that happens, it really happens. And
Yes.
then she built a career out of that co-op. She's been working with that industry. She changed company already, I believe, 3 times since the last time that I talked to her. She's a good friend of mine, and but she built a career on that thing. Like she started to work with sales for IT companies, and then she's been doing that probably around 10 years now. So
Awesome.
that co-op was responsible for her entire life, right?
Absolutely.
And I was like, this is awesome. That's how it's supposed to
And we
be.
see that time and time again too. So what we have at Lambton is it's called expedited graduation. So when a student is in their final semester, they're doing their co-op and the employer wants to keep them. Because as you know, once a student finishes their studies, they can only work 24 hours part-time until they are graduated out. And then they apply for their post-graduation work permit. Then they can start working full-time on unemployed status. But if an employer really likes this student and wants to keep them forever, we have something called expedited, where on Friday you're a student, we graduate you out. On Monday, you become a full time employee with the employer. So it's a win 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 for everybody. The student is no longer a student, they are on their post graduation work permit on a Monday. taking their full-time shift at their institution that they're working at, and the employer doesn't have to, solve labor issues by maybe, reducing their hours by 24 or having to find somebody to replace them for a couple of weeks until they're graduated out. So this is a service that we provide our employers, and students are really gung-ho about, pursuing that. So they apply, and once it's approved, the week after the semester ends, they're working full time.
That's another story that I had. Like we had this student, right? That like we put him in a course that had co-op. For sure, it's not all the courses that have co-op, right? But when they do, like with you guys, all the post graduation, like they
Mhm.
have, that's awesome. So this student, we put him in a course that had a co-op in the end. He came from I don't remember exactly which field he came from, but I remember that he graduated and then he chose something else. And then I was at an event like one of ISAF, which is like the biggest event for our
Yeah.
industry, right? And then I met him, and I was like, "What are you doing here?" And he's like, "Oh, remember the course that you put me?" And I was like, "Yeah, sure." He's like, "That had a co-op, and I found a job because of that co-op." He was working with the provider of technology, our CRM. He was working with them. So I
Yeah.
was like, "Oh, it's good to see the world like going around, right? And like things working, like that ball go." I'm trying to hide the sun. Let me see if I can move this camera a bit here. I'm,
That's hilarious. Yeah, like,
I
and
thought
remember,
I wanted to show outside a little bit, right? To be outside. So is it
oh,
better
it's very
now? Like the sun
inspiring
is on
though.
the side?
Oh, it's beautiful. It's awesome. Yeah, like with international students that are on a work permit for their institution in co-op, it's an open work permit. Like they don't have to stay in Sarnia or Ottawa. They can find a job in the Northwest Territories if they like. It's wherever the jobs are that they're willing to go and work for.
Talking about Sunny, I said like last year I had the pleasure to visit. It was a good surprise for me. I really love it. It was funny because like I even met a friend from the industry that she moved to Sarnia, and
Yes.
she was like, yeah, and she was like, "Oh, Chico, Sarnia is the like is the what do you call Caribbean of Canada."
Yeah.
I was like,
I call it the Hawaii of Canada, Miami of Canada.
I
It's
was like, "You're
very south.
pushing a bit." When that joking with her, but like, it is awesome. Like, I was surprised, like, by the city because, like, a lot of people says like, okay, you go to smaller cities and then you save a lot of money. But in reality, what I see, what cities that are medium size, they have the same. The cost is pretty close to big cities, right? A city that's like 500 million, 500,000 people around that.
Mhm.
That city, it's not very cheap anymore, right? Actually, there's
Mhm.
nothing that is cheap anymore, right? But
That's
not
right.
even to stay at home is it's cheap. But like I see, like signing up, like it's around 70,000 people, right?
Yes, yes, it is. Yeah,
70,000 people.
73,000.
I really like the size of the city. For sure, you don't have all the services of a big city, but you have a great community. You are right across US. If you cross
Mhm.
a bridge, you are in US. I was like when I first got into Sarnia, I was driving from London,
Yeah.
Ontario, and then like I almost end up in US.
Yes, it
I was
says
like,
last exit before the USA. If you don't
yes,
exit, you're in the United States.
I was like, luckily I had my passport, so that is an exit downtown
Yeah.
Sarnia or USA. So you're right there, right? And I remember that like I had to go from Sarnia to Windsor, and it was faster to go through US
Yes.
than through Canada. I was like, wow, that's
Two
interesting. Like,
hours. Yes. Yeah, exactly.
yeah,
It's
so
1 hour through the United States and 2 hours through the
it was
Canadian
funny
side.
because I had a meeting at Windsor, and I was in a hurry. I was with Lorena in Sarnia, and then I had this meeting. So I took off. I drove. I didn't stop even to put gas in US. So when I crossed the border back to Canada, the guy was
You
like,
missed the cheap
"Oh,"
gas in the US.
I was like, "I didn't even put gas. I didn't spend a penny in US." And the guy was like, "Okay, welcome home."
That's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah, like Sarnia's proximity. So if you look at geography wise, Sarnia is on the border with Michigan, with the United States. We're only an hour from Detroit. Only, I think it's 3.5, 4 hours from Chicago, and we're only 2.5 hours from Toronto. So that logistic hub that connects Canada to the United States, that ultimately connects Canada to Mexico through Kuzma, through the NAFTA, the free trade. We are a hub for logistics and for petrochemical industry. The energy that is produced here in Sarnia, the refineries, feed all of Michigan and all of Southeast Ontario all the way to Montreal. So the gas that the petroleum or the energy that the planes use at Pearson Airport come through Sarnia and are filtered and sent out. So if there is ever an issue with about energy, this is the hub that would be taking care of it.
You guys have a pipeline that comes straight from Alberta to
From
you guys,
Alberta
right?
through
To
Michigan,
Sarnia,
line
right?
5, exactly, yes. Yeah,
Yeah,
so
when
we
like
refine that gasoline, we refine that, and then we send it off to the region. So as a hub, logistics hub, it's critical. And the cost of living, if you look at housing, for instance, I don't even want to ask how much you pay in Vancouver, but if you look at
don't ask.
Sarnia, yeah, I'm not gonna ask. Nobody wants to hear that. But Sarnia, like the Canadian, I think it's called the Canada Housing and Mortgage Sector, does a survey every year. And in October of 2024, Sarnia had the second highest vacancy rate for homes in all of Ontario after Brockville. So there is an abundance of homes for our international students. We do a survey every 6 months with our students just to understand the pulse of how fast, how easy is it to find a place? When do you find a place? How much are you paying? Who are you living with? Like how many people? Is it furnished, unfurnished? And 75% of our students find a place before they even come to Canada. And they're paying on average between 500 to 700. I would say about on average $500 to $600 per person. So if you're
I
comparing
remember when
that
I
to a
was
metropolitan,
you have housing problems like all over Canada, right? And then I remember when I was there visiting you guys, so Lorena I went to the housing department and they said, yeah, we have houses for students. I was
yeah,
like, yeah, we do.
like
And then we
legitimate,
talk
yes.
about prices. I'm like, holy smokes.
Yeah. So just think like you have affordable housing and access to it. We have a bus system, a transit system. You know, if you're in Toronto and you have to take the TTC, you're probably paying what, 200 a month for the TTC, whereas our semester pass is like $180.
Right.
$190 for the whole semester. So you've got a good transit system. You've got part-time jobs. You've got world-class education. You've got a co-op experience at the end. If you don't qualify for co-op, because you do have to maintain a certain GPA, you have the work integrated learning, which is a project-based experience, experiential
This
learning
is very
on top of that.
important. This is very important. Like that we talk about that. We don't as I see as in like usually like Brazilians when they come here to Canada to study, work, they're very serious about that. So it's really rare that we have a problem with a student that don't get to the GPA that they need in order to get the co-op, right? But it's very important like that. I think that shows as well the connection with the industry. We are only gonna send towards your company someone that is serious about studying. So someone that is studying needs to understand that it's not like automatically you have to do your part, you have to do your job, like be a good student, getting and one thing that I copy or not, Hannah, one thing that I've seen a lot here in Canada is like how much a teacher can help a student.
Yes,
The teacher
yes,
can I've seen a lot of people put in the job market because of a teacher.
yeah.
So that's
Yeah,
it.
teachers all the time do that. They'll look if there's a job posting, if there is some type of accreditation or certification, mentoring, it's very, very important. That's why it's go to class, know your professors, make that connection. And these are critical things if you want to advance your career. And that's advice that you would give anybody at any institution,
For
right?
sure.
So you have to make your mark. Students that come to me and that are looking for a job reference, for instance, I've either worked with them, I've seen the work, I can vouch for their credibility and their work. But if I've never seen you and you don't have a good like I'm sorry, like I can only
Sorry.
help those that have helped themselves.
It's funny because that's a thing that is different about Canada and Brazil is like people in Brazil we have something called jeitinho. And jeitinho can be bad and can be good. It's like a way to do things, right? But in a lot of ways, jeitinho is good. In a lot of ways, jeitinho is bad, in my opinion. So, but Brazilians like, "Oh, okay, I was not a good student. But do you mind give me this letter?" Brazilians would do it. It's something that it doesn't happen here in Canada a lot. So
Yeah.
if you don't prove yourself, you're gonna receive a no. No, I
Yes.
will not give a reference for you. That's it. And like people just don't like, like you didn't do your part. I'm not gonna do mine. That's a
Yeah.
big cultural difference that I see comparing Brazil to Canada, right? So
And
that is
networking too. And it's
oh,
so important
network.
to network. You got to get your face out there. You got to get your resume out there. I had a student that worked, she was our social media ambassador. She's working from home in Sarnia, but her job is located in Vancouver.
Mm,
Wonderful startup salary, like amazing job. She does great work for a very well-known tire company in Canada, and she sent out about 100 resumes after like during graduation, 100 resumes, but she landed that killer job in her field of study, and she's working from she's working and living in Sarnia. Doesn't have to go to Vancouver and pay the Vancouver rates of anything. So, but
that's
she
the best
was
of
in,
both worlds, right? Pay the price of
yeah,
Sarnia, get Vancouver salary. That's
yeah.
good.
Exactly, right? And so, but she was involved in everything. She was our social media ambassador. She was working like it was a really good experience. And to do that, it's a good way to practice your skill set, right? But networking, you've got to get out there, you know. And not everything is about salary. Not everything is about money. I know a lot of our Brazilian students, they might be coming with their children or they might have loans to pay. And most of them are mature. They're older. They're between the ages of maybe 25, 30 to 40 years of age. A 40-year age student is not the same as an 18-year-old age student, right? They have
Oh yeah.
different priorities, different expectations, different lifestyles. So sometimes we have students that the minute they get here, maybe they were a chartered accountant back home, or maybe they were a scientist. They're like, oh, I want to be a scientist when I get to Canada. I'm like, that's not going to happen at the beginning. You got to manage your expectations. I had one student, she cried every single day, probably for 3 weeks. She's like, I want to go home. I want to go home. Like, you're not going to go home. You're going to stick this out. And I was like, what is the underlying issue? She's like, well, my whole family, we're all accountants. I can't find an accounting job here. I don't know what to do. I want a part-time job. I was like, well, just apply at the grocery store, apply at the coffee shop, apply at the. She said, I can't do that. I said, well, nobody has to know. Don't put it on social media. Nobody needs to know that you're doing this. But you need to get that Canadian work experience to put on your resume. You need to network. You need to meet people.
Because that is
Now
about
she's,
telling that is it's you telling the Canadian employees that like you got to use to the system here. It's really hard for you. For sure, it's not impossible. I know a lot of people that have done it, but it's really hard for someone to hire you to do a position that involves a lot of training
yes,
that they don't know how
investment.
serious or how like how much you invested your time, your like in Canada, right? Okay, I I adapt to Canada already. So I remember when IT was booming. IT
Yeah.
jobs were like all over the place. People getting paid by hundreds of thousands of dollars and getting jobs like this. The guy that I know that took the longest to find
Uh,
a job in IT is a friend of mine.
oh, yeah.
But he was okay with that. When he was like he was a big director of IBM in Brazil. His salary was huge. When he got here and he did a master's in IT, and he's like, I'm not gonna do these jobs. But he had money to support himself. So it's like, I'm not gonna do those jobs. I'm like, are you sure, Paulo? You're gonna take longer to find a job? And like that was right at the spot. He took the longest that I know to find a job.
Because he couldn't
But
adapt
once
and people didn't know who he was.
exactly, he was a big name in Brazil, but he not. Even though he worked for a huge
Multinational?
industry
Yeah.
multinational company that people here in Canada know. So he took a little bit longer than the normal to find a job. But once he found the first job, and then he's been working since then, right? He left. I think he's in Canada for around. He got here 2006, so
Oh,
nine
wow.
years.
Oh,
So yeah, so
wow.
he changed. 2000, no, so 2016, sorry, 2016 he got here.
Yeah.
So, and then like he changed like jobs already, but three
And
times.
you know what? Yeah, and there's no shame, like as you're studying, there's no shame working at the grocery store or at the
Oh,
coffee
not at
shop.
all.
I tell my students when I was at university, I cleaned a dentist's office at night. Look at me now, right?
This,
Like it doesn't
yeah,
define you. You don't go and post if you don't. It's up to you if you want to post, but nobody back home needs to know what you're doing. As long as you are mentally and physically well and you're enjoying yourself. That's the most important thing. Like you are safe, you're enjoying yourself, you're learning, you're meeting people, and you're getting paid for what you're doing at the minimum wage or whatever. That's you're checking all the boxes.
it's like in here in Canada, it's even if we compare, it's good because we have been doing this work kind of like talking about Canada for over 10 years now, right? But in the beginning, it was really hard for people to understand Canada is not US. Canada is not US, it's not Brazil. Here it's completely different. Like people don't care what you do. That doesn't make you bigger or smaller.
No,
You're gonna wash dishes, you're gonna have Canadians working there, you're gonna doesn't matter. My son, he worked like for two, I believe, 2 summers. He worked in one of the biggest chains of restaurants in Canada, right? And then he worked at a city that has one of the highest GPD of Canada, right? Like West Vancouver. He worked with a lot of like very rich kids.
yeah,
There was kids working there as like dishwasher, as a host. They were like among like the richest people in Canada,
yeah,
and nobody cares. He has a friend. Like we love the family. The family is a good friend of ours.
yeah.
So the guy that lives in Vancouver, his family is super wealth, super. And the kid went to Ontario to plant trees. That's one of the hardest jobs that is. He got
It's
hurt
very
doing that.
labor
Like
intensive. Yeah,
I
and
was like,
grueling.
I was like, João, are you sure that Nick is doing that? Like he's look at Nick is skinny. I was like, Nick is planting trees. Like and he's like, yeah.
Yeah.
Like okay. I say you don't
Because
want to go
work is
with him.
honorable. Work is honorable. It doesn't matter what kind of work it is, as long as it's legal and it's you're enjoying it, I'll go for it. So that's what I really want people to manage their expectations. Like if you're expecting to get, within 2 weeks, a job that pays you $65,000 a year, not going
Yeah,
to
you
happen.
exactly. So
It will
it's like
happen eventually, but
mhm.
just we have to go through the motions. Like anytime you move, like even for Canadian students, and I always use this example, the Frosh 15. I'm sure you've heard of that before. When a domestic student, Canadian student, graduates from high school and they go off to university or college, the first year they usually gain about 15 pounds. It's called the Frosh. Frosh is a
Never
slang
heard of
term
that.
for the
Really?
first year of university. So Frosh 15 is 15 pounds. It's a combination of over drinking and snacking, but it's also related to stress because they're away from home. They have to take care of themselves for the first time. They have a lot of pressure on them. But these are Canadian students who speak the language, who know the culture, who probably live like 2 hours away from home anyway. So anytime they're homesick, they can just hop on a bus or a train and go home. Whereas our international students don't have that luxury. So our community, our international department, our Center for Global Engagement, our community partners, we really want to take care of our students. So we do pre-departure webinars before they arrive. We send emails. We have one-on-one sessions. We have, for Christmas time, everyone goes away to home. Our students are left behind. So we have Home for the Holidays program where a Canadian family invites an international student for Christmas breakfast or Christmas dinner or spending time. We have the Fluency Friend program where I match international students with domestic students, where over the duration of a semester, the international student can practice their English skills, but ultimately actually make a bona fide Canadian friend. And they do, they stay friends for life. So these things, these nuances international students may not know of, but we know. I've been in this industry like you for such a long time. As we move through these things, we have set up these safety nets, these things to help our students navigate their times because we want to hold their hand from the time they arrive even after graduation. We have an international graduation center where we provide supports for international students after graduation about permanent residency webinars, about English language testing French testing, career perspective, career opportunities and mentoring in the field. So for us as Lambton College, we take this responsibility very seriously. It's not just giving an offer and then, all right, that's it. It's no, these are human beings. These individuals have given up so much to come to Canada. And again, I would want my child to have that same experience abroad. So I see every student, doesn't matter what age they are, I see them as my family. And I want to take care of them and I want to advocate them, I want to protect them, I want them to be safe, and I want them to have an exceptional experience, either in the classroom or on campus or within the community. And co-op is one of those things that you hear these amazing stories when they graduate, and then some of them have become PR, and you're like, like I had, we have an expression in Turkish, I had, a part to play. My salt was added to their soup of life. So I had some part of their life and their where they
It's
what they become. So it's nice to see, especially at convocation when they cross the stage. I was like, I did something there. Like I helped this person. So it makes me feel good.
It's you were saying like about like the families, the Canadian families that like can help students like during Christmas and so on, right? It's funny because that is not work too in the way that I see. That's amazing. It's gonna help you through like stay here during Christmas. It's a cold time and have
Yeah,
someone with you. That's awesome.
yeah.
But that is like when you were talking about, I remember my son because my son found his job. We were talking about like work on a restaurant or on a grocery store, whatever, right? My son, he graduated in finance. Now the world is not doing the best,
Yeah.
right? Like we are through like a moment like in history that it's, but it's okay. The world, it's everything's cyclical, right?
It
It changes,
yeah.
right? One time is good, the other time is not the best. Well, we are here, right? So uh, and then he something, it was really funny the way he graduated in the middle of this. He graduated I believe summer last year, and then he found a really good first job.
Good.
He's being paid like his salary. I'm like, and he getting bonus and things. I'm like, wow. And then do you know
Yeah.
how he found his job? While he was working in a restaurant as a waitress. He was working in the restaurant, and then like he had this guy like that we used to work with him, and the guy, oh, what are you doing? And he's like, oh, I'm doing finance. And this guy said, oh, I have an uncle that he has and he said the name of the a finance company, this and that. He's my uncle, and my son was like, oh, do you mind setting up a meeting or something? He's like, no, and they click right away. The
That's
boss,
networking. That's your soft skills
exactly.
working right there. It's about having
Mhm.
the self-confidence. It's about being approachable, being like, see, like all these things are meant to be for a reason. But if your son was not a good waiter, was cold, didn't provide good service, even if the guy
Or
was
he
nice
would
and
say,
he didn't listen,
I'm not gonna work as a waiter.
yeah,
He wouldn't have his job
that
today.
opportunity would never have existed. So, for international students, the older ones that do come, it's I mean, I've had so many students like, oh, back home, this is what we do back home. This is what we do back home. I understand. Yes, true. But you're not back home. You're adjusting. You're going through a new phase of your life. It's going to have ups and downs. It's going to be a struggle, but you're going to get through it to the other side, and you're going to get through it with us. We're going to
Uh,
help you get to the other side.
Hannah, we used to say you do one step backwards to move forward, right? I have a student like that. She said something to me that was, I really, when she said that, I say it makes a lot of sense. She said, "You don't go step backward. You step sideways."
Yes,
Because if you're working at grocery, you are learning English, you are adapting to the
absolutely.
culture, you getting network, so you don't go backwards, you go side, and then you move forward. I was like, it makes a lot of sense what you're saying. So it was funny like that. Like in Brazilians, they have soft skills. Like we, we are, we could be bad in a lot of things, but that's one thing that Brazilians are super good. It's soft skills. And here in Canada, this is one of the most important things. It's
Yeah,
soft skills.
it's
So
soft.
that's where I think English is really important. Hannah, I can tell you, like in the history of our company, people that I saw like evolving faster is the people that speaks like amazing English. Not like broken English like my English, but someone that speaks like very fluently English, like a very good English. Those people I see get here. We did a few months, like I think this been a year already. We did a series of webinars. Then we're talking with students, and then like asking. We said life. How I'm gonna say a vida como ela é, like life, like raw life. This is it, right? Like you came to Canada, so we ask people to talk about the beginning because we like to for sure Canada is going to be different than what you think. It's not going to be better or worse. It's going to be different than what you think it is. So we try to bring people to reality when they move here. Okay, this is like, oh, I heard they were talking about that, so I know I'm prepared for that, right? So it was really funny because like everybody that like that we invited, they were like struggling in the beginning, talking about the struggle in the beginning, but this and that's that. And there was one person. She's like, no, I got here, I found a job, but was summer. I said I was not gonna work during summer. I want to enjoy summer with my kids, and I would go back to work in September. I look at that like, okay.
That's
How was
great.
it? Well, my first question was, how was your English when you got here? Oh no, no, my English is like, and then it's not people have to understand it's not IELTS 6 or 6.5. In my opinion, that's like a all this copy is very important. But if you combine that, the copy
Absolutely.
experience with an awesome English and you have the soft skills, oh, the world's yours.
Exactly. And you also have to consider too the life cycle of a student, like the academic life cycle. You know, you start a semester, your first semester, you've got midterms, you've got assignments done, you got your finals. Then you've got your student life cycle in the terms of psychology with homesickness. In October, the end of October, beginning of November, the times change in Canada. So it gets darker sooner. So people from not from around here, and the plus it gets colder, maybe not in Vancouver, but the rest of Canada gets colder.
That's cool.
It could even snow, right? So
Colder
there's a
than
lot
Brazil
of
for sure.
yeah, so there's a lot of adjustment happening along, and this is what we do. This is part of our orientation program. And in our counseling, in our department, service departments, the student life cycle is part of how we do our programming. So we know at the end of September, there are certain supports that students need. In October, we know when times are changing, students need other supports. So throughout the whole 4 months, same thing happens in January as well. We know that there's going to be points where people are going to struggle. Well, we have programming just before that happens. So there's an outreach program. It's either mental health related, either physical fitness related, either experiential learning. For example, we have something called Pitch It. It's our social exchange. Again, going back to that CCR co-curricular record that we have where students volunteer their time. Well, this is going to be something that new students can have an opportunity to come together as a group, have some type of marketing idea, some product, and they can pitch it to a board. And if they get selected, they can win. I think it's up to like $10,000 in scholarships. So keeping students engaged throughout that life cycle, semester by semester. And I tell my students, like the first thing I say to them, it's you got here, that's a check. But you have to celebrate daily, weekly, monthly, and semester wins. You have to
Yeah.
approach it in a positive way. You're going to have your ups and downs. Did you survive today? Yes. Check. Did you submit your assignment on time? Check. You you have to find those out, and you got to find those students, those classmates, those roommates that share the same approach to life as you do. And it happens. People sometimes they don't get along. It happens. People get divorced all the time. Roommates don't get along all the time. So, but we're here to
It's life.
support and triage to the support services as well.
Yeah. Hannah, would I have no words to thank you to sharing the not only the knowledge but the experience and all that with us. I'm quite sure that is gonna help people. Like you already put like some salt in a lot of
A
people
little
that
salt in
was
their gut.
watching us. Like uh, in making a difference in the in in all this process, right? I used to say that go study abroad, immigrate to a different country is not for everybody,
No.
right? But if that's for you, like getting like information, like with the boots on the ground, kind of like what we are doing here, people that live in Canada and share their experience and the story of real stories, right? So I love to look at real stories and and use those stories as a guide to the future, right? So,
Absolutely.
and I'm amazed what you guys do with co-op wise. You guys, in my opinion, have the best co-op program in whole Canada, and
Everyone's trying
that
to
is,
copy us now, so
I know, and it's
for a
like, but you
reason.
guys have been doing that for it took people a
Forever.
long time to try.
Yeah,
For sure,
forever.
that's amazing schools. They have a few co-op programs, some co-op
Yeah.
programs, but not like you guys. The way that you do the co-op system, and and then like you're gonna save a lot of money, you're gonna save time, and you're gonna have like huge help,
And you get
like
that job
breaking.
offer that after you graduate, we expedite you the week after you're already working full time. You don't have to wait 6 weeks, 8 weeks to get graduated
Like
to work.
breaking that shell that is Canadian experience, it's really important. I see like we have a WhatsApp group that we have direct contact with our students, right? And they talk and they some of the stories that I know comes from them, right? And we see the struggles, and it's funny because you kind of see a cycle, right? Like of same struggles, the same, like I say, people, that's normal, relax, you're gonna
Yeah,
go through this, right?
yeah.
It's like I've seen that is one struggle that is really easy to explain. Like people when they move here, they have 15 days of a nightmares when they are trying to find a home, find home. So they are looking for a house and they're like, oh, I'm not gonna find a place, I can't, where I'm gonna
It's
put my
stressful. It's
family,
very
this and that. I
stressful.
say, everybody that I know found a
As a
place,
house,
don't worry.
don't worry. Don't worry.
Don't worry.
And if not the
And
institution, it's the responsibility of the institution. It's
yeah,
easy to give an offer letter. An institution's responsibility is to help those students find temporary and long-term accommodation. So
yeah.
100% with Lambton,
No, you guys
your
do a
housing is
beautiful job
guaranteed.
doing that. It's like in big cities such as Vancouver, it's really hard for the
Yeah,
schools to do
yeah,
that. But like if you guys can do that, like in yeah, for sure, adapting and getting like in smaller cities, it's way easier, right? Like
yeah.
logistic wise,
It's
it's way
peaceful.
easier.
Like, it's peaceful, it's safe, it's affordable, world-class education. And just think of the logistics too. Like if you're not too far away from, I go to Toronto all the time. I go visit and I come home and I'm like, oh, so nice to be home.
I'm in the middle of nature. I can tell you that.
Yeah,
Like,
there you go.
well, there's people that are
Literally.
big city people. I'm not one of those, but like, it's find whatever makes you happy, right?
Exactly,
Anna,
exactly.
thank you so much.
Thank you so
For
much too,
thanks for
Francisco.
sharing
Thank
all
you.
this knowledge with us. For sharing all this information. Have an amazing day there in
You
Sarnia.
too. Thank you.
Okay,
You
bye
too.
bye.
Stay safe, everybody. Thank you. Bye bye.
Então, pessoal, essa foi a Hanna, a diretora de Educação Internacional na cidade de Sarnia, no interior de Ontário, né, no College Lambton, que é um college muito legal. A gente escolheu eles para falar do co-op, porque eles têm muitos programas com co-op, eles já fazem isso há muito tempo. E é uma caminhada, é algo que pode te ajudar a quebrar essa casquinha, né, que a gente fala do Canadian Experience, né? Então foi bem legal ter ela aqui com a gente no nosso podcast. Não perca, né? Nós vamos ter uma série aí de documentários sobre o Canadá, com pessoas contando suas histórias, né? Pessoas importantes como a Hanna, assim, trazendo, né, a sua visão de como funciona por dentro, né? A adaptação de um estudante internacional, como funciona a indústria, né? Isso é muito legal para você ter essa informação, uma informação de credibilidade, para que você trace o seu caminho aí da melhor maneira. Hanna, thank you so much.
Thank you. Nice talking to
Okay,
everybody.
see you next
All right.
time.
Next
Okay,
time.
bye
Thank you.
bye.
Bye bye.